Today's show is sponsored by the Pittsburgh Opera, presenting the world premiere of Woman with Eyes Closed. Here's what you need to know. There's this gal named Mona. She realizes her son is an art thief who has stashed stolen paintings in her house. So she's got a decision to make. Does she give them back to the museum? Does she keep them? Does she turn her son in? Or does she destroy the evidence? This is all based on a real-life art heist, and Woman with Eyes Closed will keep you guessing until the very end. There are 5 performances, April 26th through May 4th. Learn more at pittsburghopera.org/woman. This episode is supported by Perico Gardens. Jens, I bought a house a couple of years ago, my very first, and I've mostly spent that entire time ripping out all the old, half-dead shrubs to give myself and my yard a blank slate. But now I don't know what to do. If you are like me and you maybe need a little help getting started, you might try Perico Gardens. They're a garden design service here in Pittsburgh geared toward new homeowners and anyone who needs a little more expertise to get their garden going. They check out your yard. They give you personalized recommendations for anything you want: trees, shrubs, flowers, and more. Visit pericogardens.com to book your own design consultation. Today on CityCast Pittsburgh, what will it take to get a grocery store downtown? Maybe Governor Josh Shapiro has some ideas. We're talking about the mayoral election, some good outdoor news, and why a golf tournament in South Carolina is getting some hilarious love in Pittsburgh. I'm with CityCast's Mallory Falk running through some of the biggest stories of the week. It's Friday, April 25th. I'm Megan Harris, and here's what Pittsburgh's talking about. Hey, Mallory.
Hey, Megan. I am really excited to break down this week's news with you. But before we do that, just a reminder to everybody that we are in the middle of a spring membership campaign right now. So we want to take a second to talk to you about why right now is the perfect time to become a CityCast Pittsburgh neighbor.
I mean, the first reason is because if you join right now, you get an exclusive CityCast Pittsburgh mug. It's kind of diner style. It's shiny. It's got a nice, pretty logo. It's kind of vintage. It's got our yellow color. I really like it.
Yeah, I don't know about you, Megan, but I am a sucker for complimentary merch, and especially when it's limited edition like this mug is. That's all you've got to say to me and I'm in.
I mean, I think our whole team, our whole company, they really appreciate a perk, you know?
Yes, and there are a ton of perks, not just this mug. You can check out a full list of all of them at membership.citycast.fm/Pittsburgh. One of my favorites is invitations to exclusive members-only events where you get to come hang with the team and with other neighbors in an intimate setting. We've got a special happy hour coming up next month. So if you become a neighbor right now, you will officially get added to the guest list. So yeah, get in there.
And one of my favorites is getting to skip a little thing called pod roll. We get emails about this fairly regularly, so I actually wanted to explain this. If you are not currently a member, you've probably noticed that you get other recommended podcasts downloaded to your feed when you subscribe to CityCast Pittsburgh. I just want to let y'all know, we do not choose those, but they help us pay the bills around here. But if you become a member and use our ad-free feed, they go away. Poof, gone. No more recommendations that you did not ask for, just the CityCast Pittsburgh crew and none of the noise.
Yeah, you can sip your coffee from your complimentary mug and not have to worry about those pesky auto downloads. It is a win-win. And you're supporting us. Win-win-win.
Yes, we need your help to keep all of this going for years to come. Our goal every day really is to help you feel more connected to Pittsburgh, to the city. And sometimes that means trying to help you make sense of City Hall, like different proposals to build affordable housing, for example. But sometimes it also means sharing our personal hacks for how to get free stuff on your birthday.
Yes, we really cover a wide range here. I mean, just this week is a perfect example. We published our second of 4 interviews with our city's mayoral candidates. That is our Mayoral Mondays series. We told you about where to find the best spring festivals and markets. We explored whether our state might actually legalize recreational cannabis this year. If you've stuck around with us for a long time, you know this is an annual conversation, time-honored tradition here on CityCast Pittsburgh. And then we also debated how well The Pit, which is, of course, this year's breakout medical drama, how well it captured Pittsburgh.
And of course, today, like every Friday on the show, we're here to catch you up on the biggest stories of the week, things that brought us joy, that we're curious about, that we enjoyed and we want y'all to know about. But also just so you can sound a little extra knowledgeable when you're talking to people this weekend.
Yes, and don't just take our word for it. Listen to Richard M., who became a CityCast neighbor this week. Thank you so much, Richard M. Richard said, I moved to Pittsburgh 2 years ago and started listening to this podcast right before the move to better understand the city. Your stories and coverage of the Pittsburgh region helped me make this a home. Huge fan and avid listener. Richard, we appreciate you so much.
Yes, we get a little ping every time somebody joins as a CityCast Pittsburgh neighbor, and it really does make our day. If you have ever learned anything new from the show, maybe taken us up on one of our many suggestions, we really hope you will consider signing up to become a CityCast Pittsburgh neighbor. And I will be real here. Our goal is to get to 65 new members this week and next, and we're doing good. It's doable, but we are a teeny bit behind. So we would really appreciate it if you're on the fence. Maybe go ahead and help us with this current membership program. I know we can do it together.
I feel so confident we can do it. We've already got such a great community of CityCast Pittsburgh neighbors, and we're excited to welcome even more in. So please help us reach that goal by becoming a neighbor right now at membership.citycast.fm. For just $10 a month, you can help keep us going, get all the great perks we mentioned, like ad-free listening, no unnecessary podcasts in your feed, exclusive members-only events, and of course, the snazzy new CityCast Pittsburgh mug.
One more time, that's membership.citycast.fm. There are cities listed there. Please pick Pittsburgh. Okay, now on to the news.
Yeah, so I just mentioned Mayoral Mondays. In case you missed it, we wanted to kind of check in now that we're halfway through our series. So we have talked to Mayor Ed Gainey and his challenger, County Controller Corey O'Connor. Those are the Democratic candidates for mayor. Those are the episodes that have dropped and are in your feed right now.
Yeah, and we tried to ask them both about mostly the same topics. So the city's financial position, our population growth or lack of it, safety, transit, housing, just a whole bunch of things that we know a lot of our listeners and our Hey Pittsburgh newsletter readers really want to know about.
Yeah, and we're pulling from the same list of questions every time. But like with all of our shows, we're trying to keep this organic. So if one of the candidates mentions something and we're feeling extra nebby, we don't know what they mean, we're going to ask about that too. We're going to go with the natural flow of the conversation.
And so for the next couple of weeks, you're going to hear from the two Republicans. So that's small business owner Thomas West and former police officer Tony Moreno. Moreno, of course, ran 4 years ago against Gainey. Those are always going to be on Mondays because it is Mayoral Mondays.
Yeah, and interesting fact here about the Republican candidates, this is the first time that there's been more than one Republican running for mayor since the 1930s in Pittsburgh. So it's pretty notable.
Yeah. And we also just, too, want to say thank you to all the folks who've written in about this series already, or if you know one of us, for texting. We've gotten a lot of thank yous. And I just think it's important to say, it's not lost on us that even though there are a million mayoral debates lately, sometimes they can be sort of niche, or there's a more formal back and forth with an official moderator. And that is all important and necessary. There is no wrong way to try and decide how you want to vote. But getting to hear these guys talk for an hour is just a thing that most media outlets don't have the time or space to do. So we are very grateful for the chance to do it and to share them with you guys.
And some of the feedback we've gotten so far, we wanted to talk about. On day one, we got a lot of people asking, are you going to talk to the other people who are running? The answer is obviously yes.
Yes. And the Pittsburgh subreddit also pointed out that we did not ask Gainey about schools, but we did talk to him about transit. We do know that our transit authority is county owned. We just think it's a really important consideration for anyone who's going to become or stay mayor in the city of Pittsburgh to also be thinking about how people move from A to B and whether they're interested interested in being involved in those conversations, especially in Harrisburg. And then to the point about schools, that wasn't initially on our list because I think like kind of going back in history, we have talked to Mayor Gainey about schools a bunch. And so the way we put it in our interview, our conversation with Corey O'Connor is like, a lot of mayors in the past have taken, I guess I'll call it like a less publicly vocal position on schools and what needs to happen there.
Ultimately, really, the school board has authority over schools.
Yeah, it's the school board, it's the superintendent, and I think they've just sort of deferred to them. So we didn't ask Gainey about it initially, but we really appreciate the feedback. So the other three candidates, O'Connor, West, and Moreno, are all going to have more pointed questions about schools.
And for what it's worth, like Megan said, we really have talked to Gainey about schools in the past. So you can definitely go into our back catalog, find our previous conversations with him, and take a listen.
And we've also had a lot of questions about money, like who's been donating to these guys and how they're talking about it. I personally feel like I've learned a lot just trying to fact check what Gainey and O'Connor have both talked to us about. And one thing is that, a lot of local media right now are reporting what these candidates have gotten in donations just since December, because that's when Corey O'Connor declared for mayor. He said he was going to run. But that's not the only way to count campaign finance donations. So because both of these men are effectively career politicians, you can transfer funds from one campaign to the next. Like there are steps you have to take, but it is a thing. So if you wanted to be really comprehensive about it, you'd be going back years, at least 2 to 4 years since O'Connor won the comptroller's office in 2023 and since Gainey won the mayoral primary back in 2021. So when we talk about their donors, I would personally love to see more reporting about the money that they've each been maybe sitting on all this time, because they've both been thinking about this election for a while. I think that's really clear to us now. So December is when it became a thing that the rest of us could vocally participate in, but I haven't seen so much reporting that actually gives me what I now feel like might be the fuller picture.
Yeah, that's a great point, Megan, and just reinforces how much we appreciate comments, feedback, questions from you, our listeners. It really helps guide how we process what we think Pittsburgh's talking about, the tagline of the show.
Yes, we take that actually to heart. So let's talk quickly about how the race is going. We're mostly talking about the Democratic candidates here still. So polls, or I guess I should say reporting about the polls so far. Mallory, I know you've done a little bit more research about this.
Yeah, and I never know how much stock to put into these polls. I think every election cycle there's a debate about whether they're meaningful, whether they actually get things right. But the main reporting I've seen cites internal polls from O'Connor's campaign, and those show him in the lead by double digits, though some of these have been pretty...
O'Connor's campaign thinks he's in the lead?
Yeah, exactly. So that's why I'm saying, like, this seems to be what's out there. This seems to be what a lot of outlets are citing. But take it for what it is. And again, some of those polls, they have a pretty small sample size of voters. So take that for what you will as well. But the most recent story I saw, WESA just covered a poll of 500 likely Democratic voters, again, done on behalf of O'Connor's campaign. And it found by the end of March, he was up by a margin as large as 30 to 52. But then I've also seen reporting with political observers saying, like, this is still anyone's race. A lot can happen in a month. So again, like, I just never know how much weight to put into this stuff.
And just since we've talked to Gainey and O'Connor, some other stuff has popped off too. Like City Councilor Erica Strasburger says the city's finances are way worse than Gainey has suggested that they are. She says in part because of all the overtime, which we talked to him about. Strasburger says we're on the brink of, quote, imminent financial disaster, end quote.
Yeah. And then I think another big headline this week, some people are pretty upset about a mailer that went out from a PAC supporting O'Connor's campaign, a mailer attacking Gainey. Some people are saying it's basically a dog whistle. And it includes, like, on one side, there's a picture of this dilapidated building that people have pointed out, like, it was dilapidated before Gainey took office, and it has since been renovated and has tenants living in it.
It looks perfectly nice now.
Yeah, so some elected officials and community organizers, like, even gathered to kind of denounce this mailer, to say that this PAC was employing racist tactics, and it has caused quite an uproar.
And we should say the O'Connor campaign has released a statement. They didn't directly address the mailer, but said, quote, hateful rhetoric in any form is unacceptable. It has no place in this race and will have no place in Corey O'Connor's administration if elected, end quote.
Yeah, so those are a couple updates. Obviously, we're going to keep you posted on more developments in the mayoral race. And then, like we said, we've got 2 more interviews dropping with the Republican candidates for mayor, Thomas West and Tony Moreno. And we are also publishing snippets of all of these interviews in our Hey Pittsburgh newsletter.
which you can find on our website, pittsburgh.citycast.fm. Just a reminder quickly, if you want to vote in the primary, the deadline to register is May 5th. That is coming up so soon. Our primary is May 20th, and we do have closed primaries here in Pennsylvania. So you do have to be registered as a Democrat or a Republican to be able to vote in those respective primaries. If you want to vote between Corey O'Connor and Ed Gainey, you have to be a registered Democrat. Same for the Republicans.
Yes, this kind of blows my mind every time the election comes around. And I was reading some reporting in Spotlight PA that we are one of only 10 states who runs primaries this way. The state house actually passed a bill last year that would have opened up the primary so that, independent voters could have a say in the election too. But it didn't go any further than that. And it sounds like lawmakers haven't committed yet to introducing a similar bill this year. So I don't know. I feel like it's time for us to get on board with the majority of other states and have open primaries.
Open primaries, early voting. I'm here for all of it.
More voting access is always a good thing.
Yes. And we'll talk about this another day, but also on your ballots will be coming some court elections and also some ballot questions. Mallory, let's move on to trivia.
Yes. So this week's trivia question is also a little preview for the next story we're going to be discussing about downtown Pittsburgh. So Market Square is in the process of getting a facelift. Construction for that started this month. And if you want to get to Market Square, one of the streets you can take is Forbes Avenue. But fun fact, that street did not always have that name. So Megan, what was that street originally called? I can give you multiple choice if you want, or you can just take a wild guess.
I am pretty sure I know the answer to this. And actually, Mallory, we were just at a preview of a new exhibit at Heinz History Center, which is very, very cool. But I think I was staring at the exact map that you're talking about from way back when. So give the people multiple choice and we'll reveal it after the break.
Okay, so your options are Merchant Street, Farmers Way, Diamond Street, or Center Street. And we will let you know after the break.
Today's show is brought to you by Aura Home. This Mother's Day, don't just tell the moms in your life how much you love them. Share what's going on in your world in a way that can stick with them for years to come. I've got a cousin. She is older than me, kind of an aunt, really, and we haven't lived in the same city in almost 20 years, but I want her to know me and the family that I have found here in Pittsburgh. So she got an Aura frame a while back, and it has fully changed how we talk to each other. So I send her frame pictures of my kid, who she's only met in person like 2 or 3 times, but she knows exactly when he took his first step, what color his favorite cars are, and that when he is up to something, he looks exactly like our grandfather. It keeps us connected in this really special way, and I'm so grateful for it because it has nothing to do with social media. Aura's Carver frame was Wirecutter's #1 pick for a digital photo frame, and you've probably seen it in a bunch of other gift guides. So if you have not gotten one yet, now is the time because Aura has a great deal for Mother's Day. For a limited time, listeners to this show can save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $35 off plus free shipping on their best-selling Carver matte frame. That's Aura, A-U-R-A, frames.com, promo code CityCast. Please support the show by mentioning us at checkout. Terms and conditions apply. Today's show is sponsored by the Allegheny County Elections Division and their call out for a very important duty. They want you to be a poll worker in our upcoming primary election. If you are a patriotic sort, maybe someone who gently pressures your friends and family to please go vote, if you're naturally cheery or helpful, if you don't mind a touch of very light paperwork, if you love stickers as a reward for being a good citizen, you can do all this and more, plus your civic duty, by being a paid poll worker. Election Day is May 20th, and poll workers earn between $150 and $175 for the day. And if you're brand new to the gig, you will be trained, plus you get paid for that too. One note, to participate, you must be registered to vote here in Allegheny County. I know we don't have to tell our regular listeners just how important these primaries are. This will very likely be when Pittsburghers, for example, elect the next mayor. So if your time is flexible and you think this might be right for you, learn more and apply at AlleghenyVotes.com.
What sort of promises have you made to yourself this year? Getting in better shape, eating healthier, saving more money, traveling somewhere new? What about discovering a new culture by learning a new language? With Babbel, you can do that in just a few weeks. I'm David Plotz, the CEO of CityCast, and I've been learning Spanish with Babbel. Babbel's quick 10-minute lessons, handcrafted by over 200 language experts, get you to begin speaking your new language in 3 weeks or whatever pace you choose. And because conversing is the key to really understanding each other in new languages, Babbel is designed using practical, real-world conversations. The Spanish I learned on Babbel really helped me on a recent trip to Mexico City, ordering in restaurants, shopping at the textile market, cheering on at the Lucha Libre, and I've been keeping it up since I got home. You're a podcast listener. I know that because you're listening here. I bet you'll love Babbel's new podcasts. On Eavesdrop in Espanol, which I listen to, you get to listen to a real conversation, then have the teacher host explain back to you. Then you listen again and catch everything. And you can even read along in the transcript. It's a really fun and effective way to learn. Let's get more of you talking in a new language. Babbel is gifting CityCast listeners 60% off subscriptions at babbel.com/CityCast. Get up to 60% off at babbel.com/CityCast. Spelled BABBEL.com/CityCast. Babbel.com/CityCast. Rules and restrictions may apply.
Okay, Megan, it sounds like you are not dying to know the answer because you kind of already do, but I'm sure some of our listeners are. So
Yes.
What is your guess? What was Forbes Avenue once called?
I think this is so much cooler than Forbes, which is, just a dude's name. I think it was originally called Diamond Street.
It was in fact called Diamond Street, and diamond is actually a Scottish term for town square. So it was a really perfect name.
Okay, I never knew the history. I literally just always assumed it had to do with Market Square because there's that it's a square or a diamond if you look at it sideways, I'm just making stuff up now. I never knew that. Cool.
I didn't either, but thanks to our quizmaster, Kevin Gavin, who helps us out with trivia every week. Now I know that, you know that, our audience knows it. But yes, Diamond Street was renamed in 1958 to honor the British General John Forbes, who named Pittsburgh. Mayor David Lawrence was the one who renamed it. But I agree. I think diamond sounds much fancier, classier, more befitting of maybe a makeover like we're getting right now. So reminder, if you want to play along, we always have trivia in the Hey Pittsburgh newsletter on Fridays and on our website. And if you enjoy our trivia, you enjoy learning these fun facts, one more plug for becoming a CityCast Pittsburgh neighbor. Sign up to be a member.
Smooth, Mallory. Yes. Sign up to be a member. Become a CityCast Pittsburgh neighbor.
Yes, you can do that at membership.citycast.fm.
So Governor Josh Shapiro was in Pittsburgh this week, walking around downtown, getting coffee, talking to the Pittsburgh Downtown Partnership. I always think it's funny when we get politicians kind of doing a thing because you get these really fun staged photos, he's in Defer Coffee, just chatting it up with the barista, casual, with the photographers.
I also always appreciate when it's not a national politician because then you don't have to just be hitting up sheets. You can actually go to interesting spots.
I mean, yes, but I would argue that Josh Shapiro is about as national a politician as Pennsylvania has right now.
Sure. But it's good to see him kind of out and about doing well, walking around Pittsburgh because he came here just a little over a week since the arson attack at the governor's mansion. It was reopened to the public this week on Tuesday. Actually, the first public event there was an Easter egg hunt.
A little belated, but it's the spirit that counts.
The spirit that counts. And Shapiro has said that the goal is for the fire-damaged rooms in that mansion to be restored by midsummer.
Yeah, and there's always public tours and things like that. So I think it was really important to state government to, as a show of solidarity to get it back open to the public as quickly as possible. So here in Pittsburgh, he got a tour of some downtown partnership pop-ups like Defer Coffee over there on Penn Avenue. I did not realize this, but Defer and a handful of other downtown spots right now are part of this pop-up program through the PDP. So tenants get $15,000 to help with setup and signage and getting initial stock in. And this is just to be able to fill some of these small empty storefronts as quickly as possible, when they don't need heavy renovation. So this was an old Atta Coffee. It already had all the setup for a coffee shop. Defer was able to move in there really quickly and, fill a spot that otherwise would have just been vacant.
Yeah. And so these pop-ups I know are one way that PDP is trying to bring business back downtown. And then they also have this rent abatement program where they help out with rent for the first year for new businesses, moving into a brick and mortar. One example of that is Veritas, which is this vegan spot that opened where Wiener World used to be on Smithfield Street. I love that transition.
Which is still hilarious.
It's incredible to me. And actually, I was looking on their Instagram and they say they are a gay vegan takeout spot disguised as a greasy Pittsburgh wiener joint, which is maybe the best description of any Pittsburgh business I have ever read. I love it.
So they've got rent abatement and these pop-ups, and then they also have placemaking grants where it seems to be largely public art. They actually did a State of Downtown report this week that they, walked everyone through, like some press, some retailers, some developers, things like that, to kind of talk about like how downtown is doing right now, especially by comparison to like, say, the pandemic era and shortly before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So in this presentation, they said that they've gained a net of 16 new businesses in the last 2 years. And so they're saying that at this pace, they could get back to pre-pandemic business levels in the next 5 to 7 years.
Although one striking note I thought was that our decline actually started at least as far back as 2019. The pandemic made everything worse, obviously, but there were a lot of vacancies even the year before.
Yeah, because I'm kind of curious to how this rate of recovery compares to other cities' downtown areas because, what happened to Pittsburgh's downtown is not unique. A lot of downtown areas lost occupants during COVID, which as it just kind of changed people's relationships with downtown spaces.
Yeah, but one big takeaway for me is that restaurants are doing way better than, things that I realized, and I think about it now, it's one of those things that as soon as someone points it out, you're like, oh yeah, there are a million restaurants downtown right now. There's just not as much retail kind of between them. So there's no central spot in downtown Pittsburgh if you want to go shopping, if it were the Strip District or Walnut Street and Shadyside, there's no spot where you tell people to go.
And that kind of makes sense to me because, I feel like the main thing people come downtown for, if not just work, is for cultural experiences, to see a show. And you're going to stop and get food, but you're not necessarily going to be that
but you don't need to go to
6
restaurants in a row. It's not like a retail spot where you can pop into a store and get a thing and pop into another store and get another thing. You can only eat so much at one time,
Yeah.
So anyway, the PDP is courting retail. That's their big takeaway from all of this. And if I'm reading their slides right, it looks like we've got a lot of space available for folks. If you are interested in a brick and mortar downtown, they want to hear from you. We had 68 vacant spaces, so all kinds of different sizes. But interestingly to me, 3 out of 68 compose 3/4 of all the empty space. So those are just the huge buildings.
Wow.
And I know at least a couple of them are on Smithfield Street that we just don't have a tenant for right now. So there's just, by square footage at least, enormous amount of space that they've got to try to figure out how to fill. And they said there's this big conference coming up in Vegas next month where they're going to try to find new businesses to fill these spaces. And they did not name names, but they did say that there were a few grocery stores on the list. So a grocery store downtown would be incredible.
Oh man, I want it to be Wegmans so badly, but I'm skeptical. But truly any grocery store downtown would be a welcome addition because right now really the only option is that section inside a Target.
Which actually they said they were talking to Target and it sounds like, first of all, the Target is doing fine. So no fear of it going anywhere anytime soon, knock on wood. But that some of their best growth in that store has been in their teeny tiny grocery section, which is actually a little bit of a sad face emoji there because there's no room to expand. If they could expand the Target, then maybe we could get more grocery space there. So anyway, these are all the things that they've been thinking about.
Gotcha. Maybe they go to one of those buildings and then do a little switcheroo. Someone else moves into the Target. I don't know.
Can you imagine how much work that would take to move the stock of an entire Target into another building? But hey, I assume it happens.
But also, if you're wondering, why was Governor Shapiro downtown in Pittsburgh in the first place, just a reminder that he's one of the people touting the $600 million plan to renovate downtown ahead of next year's NFL draft. We are officially 1 year out because the 2025 draft started yesterday in Green Bay. So as we're recording this, there's no big Steelers news yet, but that might have changed by the time you are listening to this.
But as for Pittsburgh and some of our 2026 dreaming, I guess the goal is to spur $600 million in investment. So nobody has written Pittsburgh a $600 million check. We do not have this money in hand. Nice? But it's what we're counting on and what everyone's talking about to try to get some of these huge projects started. So shovels are already in the ground for revamping Market Square. We're going to be doing Point State Park, building an outdoor civic space in the cultural district that's called Arts Landing. It's going to have like that big great lawn and garden walk and play equipment for kids, a running track, apparently. We've talked about a lot of this piecemeal, and we'll keep doing it as updates pop. And you'll also see photos a lot of the times in our Hey Pittsburgh newsletter. But so far, the state has kicked in about $62 million. The city has committed $2.2 million, so a teeny tiny fraction of that $600 million. And the rest has got to come from the private sector, from foundations. So we're still waiting to see how much they ultimately actually chip in.
Yeah. And then one last note on the governor while we're on this subject. He said that President Trump called him over the weekend to, quote, share his warm regards. So, in response to the attack on the governor's mansion, I will note that that's like a week after it happened. But Shapiro said that during that conversation, they also talked about U.S. Steel and Nippon Steel's bid to purchase it. So Shapiro said he wouldn't get into specifics, but that they spent a good bit of time discussing U.S. Steel, and that they both agreed there needs to be a commitment to keeping jobs in the Mon Valley. So not a lot of details about what was said on that call, but this is clearly still a big topic.
Hey CityCast, it's your host Megan Harris popping in to tell you about our new CityCast Pittsburgh Neighbors program. I know you've heard us talk about membership before, and many of you are already part of it. Thank you. Well, we've got a new name. We're calling it CityCast Pittsburgh Neighbors because we've heard that people who support CityCast Pittsburgh are people who care deeply about the city and want to make it better. They're just the kind of neighbors the city needs. We're also adding benefits. CityCast Pittsburgh Neighbors still have access to ad-free podcast listening and an exclusive weekly local events preview. But now you can also get regular events like happy hours with other CityCast Pittsburgh neighbors, local volunteering meetups, and other members-only events where we explore and better our city together. And you get to shout out a local business or nonprofit you love on the show and in the Hey Pittsburgh newsletter. For $10 a month, you can become a CityCast Pittsburgh neighbor today by going to membership.citycast.fm. That's membership.citycast.fm. We could not make this show without folks like you supporting it, and we are really excited for you to be a part of it.
Hey CityCast. According to me and my calculator, you will spend more time this week between the sheets than you will at work. So upgrade your sheets to Cozy Earth. Luxury starts where you rest. I start my evening in buttery soft Cozy Earth bamboo pajamas. Then I dip into a Cozy Earth bamboo sheet set. They are silky and temperature regulating. Forget the 9 to 5. Prioritize your 5 to 9. Cozy Earth products will transform those hours into a sanctuary. And they take comfort seriously with a 100-night sleep trial and a 10-year warranty. Luxury should not be out of reach, so Cozy Earth is giving CityCast listeners 40% off their best-selling sheets, towels, pajamas, and more. Visit CozyEarth.com and use the code CozyPittsburgh for 40% off, because you deserve a great night's sleep, and sanctuary awaits at Cozy Earth.
So let's talk about what else happened in Pittsburgh this week. We'll actually start where we just left off. So the NFL draft that's coming in 2026, there are a ton of jobs available as part of that process, and they posted a bunch of them. The city was kind of promoting that jobs page, which is not part of the city, but there's a lot of things that need to happen behind the scenes to get everything ready. So they're looking for all kinds of local businesses to get involved in sourcing goods, providing services. Some of it's stuff you wouldn't necessarily think about, like there's food vendors and marketing, like promo materials, event security, but they also need contractors for like construction and decor and lighting, even laundry services for a lot of this stuff. There are a bunch of certifications that the NFL is looking for. Some of them aren't required, but they could give you an advantage. Like if you're women-owned or if you're veteran-owned or if you're a minority-owned business, that could also give you a leg up in some of these job postings. There's a recorded info session online that has a bunch of information, but the deadline to apply is May 7th. So if you think you can help put a shine on Pittsburgh, you should give it a shot.
Yeah, so register to vote on May 5th, then apply to help out with the draft by May 7th.
Or before the deadlines, you don't have to go right up to the wire.
Don't be a procrastinator like me. I actually have a couple of exciting updates for our outdoorsy friends. So one I am so excited about is that we will eventually have a walking and biking trail that goes over the Allegheny River and connects Pittsburgh to Aspinwall. Megan, have you heard about this?
Is that the railroad bridge?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's that old railroad line. It's called the Brilliant Branch. And so it stretches from Homewood and Lincoln Leamington to Allegheny River Trail Park, which is, that park along the water in Aspinwall. And it's, just kind of been abandoned for a very long time. So now the idea is to convert it into a public trail. It's going to link up with the Three Rivers Heritage Trail that goes downtown. It'll also connect to a new riverfront development that's being built in Sharpsburg. So it's just going to help really connect our city for anybody who enjoys walking and biking, doesn't want to rely on a car to get around.
Totally. And I the reason why I even had any memory of this is because I feel like I've seen a photo of the ambition part of this. I don't know where they were in the process of trying to get approval or funding, but yeah, I think it was maybe Three Rivers Outdoor Company posted a big picture of it. This is ages ago. And they were just maybe someday.
Yeah, no, it has been in the works for a while. This is not a new plan or a new idea, but the update this week is that the county actually owns it now.
Cool.
The Redevelopment Authority of Allegheny County officially bought the rail line from Allegheny Valley Railroad. So now the work can really begin. So they purchased it for $3.5 million, which came out of federal pandemic relief funds. And the next step now is going to be choosing a consultant to do design and do engineering. And depending on how things go, it could open in 3 years. Although, when do any of these projects actually open on time?
I don't know. We did the Fern Hollow Bridge really freaking fast. There's some, I know it's different. It's totally different. But there's precedent, maybe.
Yeah, I feel there's difference between an emergency situation and we want a nice place for bikers and pedestrians. But I don't know. If somebody could make the case that this is an emergency, the people need to be able to bike over the river, then I don't know, maybe we could try to speed this thing along.
I'm in. You let me know what you need.
Then the other update I have is for people who prefer to be in the water instead of biking or jogging over it.
It's cute that you think these are mutually exclusive.
That's true. It's probably the same target audience for both of these projects. But
yeah, I would wager.
But Venture Outdoors is trying to bring a kayak launch pad downtown, so a floating dock that you can launch your kayaks off of.
Yeah, they've been talking about some version of this for a long, long time because Venture Outdoors used to have a kayak launch right there, kind of beside PNC Park next to the bridge.
Yeah, I remember launching from there at one point, and it was during a Pirates game, and I was able to watch the fireworks that go up, when the Pirates get a home run from the water. That was one of my top Pittsburgh moments and experiences. So I'm excited about this. According to Pittsburgh Magazine, the idea is for this launch pad to be on the Allegheny by the convention center.
Cool. Other side of the river. I didn't realize that.
Yeah. And you can launch your own kayak or you can rent one. And there will be other, quote, paddle crafts available to rent. I am not enough of a water sports person to know what that means.
I mean, I think it's those things, for example, that you see at Kennywood and other places where you it's you ride a bicycle, it's a little seat or something. That's what I'm picturing in my head. I don't know if that's right.
Maybe some just old school paddle boats.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, so if you're excited about this and you want to help make this dream become a reality, you can donate to Venture Outdoors fundraising on their website. Their goal is $100,000 and they're currently around $8,800, so there's definitely ways to go, but they want to have the dock built by the end of May, so fingers crossed here.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that. I never actually got to do it when it was down by PNC Park, so I want to correct that as soon as it's back open.
Yeah.
Mallory, this one is a little bit of a surprise for you. I've been holding back just because it tickles me so much. So, of course, we've been talking about this sell the team, our team, not his movement, where some Pirates fans are really mad and they want Bob Nutting to sell the team, the owner.
You say some Pirates fans. At this point, it's probably the majority.
It might be, honestly. I was laughing to myself this week because a friend of the pod, Virginia Montanez, her Breathing Space newsletter, was half of it is devoted to ripping apart Bob Nutting and various quotes he's given over the last 10 years. Of course, a historian always has the receipts. Yes.
Yeah.
And like various ways he said that he supported the team. And she's just like, no, Bob, just go away. Anyway, apparently this movement is spreading, and not just spreading here in Pittsburgh. So over the weekend, there was a golf tournament down in Hilton Head, South Carolina, a favorite vacation spot for Pittsburghers here. Where the would-be winner, he goes on to win. It's his final drive. I think I'm getting this terminology right. I'm not a big golf person.
Can't help you out there.
You know how in golf, like you're supposed to be, it's very quiet, you know, like you don't say anything. He goes to make this final drive, and it's very quiet. And the moment the ball connects, so whoever did this did pick their moment. They waited until the player had hit their ball. I don't know how to say it. Anyway, the ball starts flying, and you hear someone scream from out of nowhere.
3-line par 4.
Fire Bob Nutty!
Right down the walkway.
That's incredible.
I know. So I text our guy, Gabe Mazevsky, who was our guest on that show, where we talked to them about like what they were planning ahead of the season. And he says he was not in Hilton Head. So this was not him. This was not a thing
Does
he was
anyone
aware
know
of.
who it is? Did anyone track down this hero?
I mean, I actually did not press because I'm not sure I want to know who did it. I assume that person probably got escorted out of the tournament after that because you just can't make noise like that. But I think it's such a hilarious move to do. Anyway, that's the kind of energy I want to bring into next week. Just wildly confident in totally inappropriate moments. That's all for today here on CityCast Pittsburgh. Before we go, big thanks to our newest neighbors. Richard M., thank you again so much. Seth M., we see you on the Pittsburgh subreddit and we appreciate you. Mark P., Karen K., Liz F., Sophia, and Jess C. And if you haven't joined, we really, really want you to. Please become a CityCast Pittsburgh neighbor at membership.citycast.fm/Pittsburgh, and we will send you a neighbors-only coffee mug as that special welcome gift. Our music is by Benji, All the Kimonos, Chris Shards, Joss, Dylan Sitz, Bagel, Wendy Marcini, and Hip Color, with additional music from epidemicsound.com. Our team this week includes Mallory Falk, Sophia Lowe, and Francesca DeBecco, with help from Elizabeth Kama and Kevin Gavin. I am your host, Megan Harris. We will be back on Monday with more news from around the city. Have a great weekend, y'all.
2025 draft started yesterday in Madison? No.
Green Bay.